Why hello there my fellow friends, and I have to say, have a good December. I'm really glad it's December, I love it. I genuinely love December. Everything is beautiful, everything's fun and lighthearted and happy. I love it mostly because it's Christmas time, and we all love our good Christmas. Even I did last year, especially a bit too much. You see, I did actually have an idea for a video, and it was because this year is coming to an end, and with it is the tens decade. The tens is kind of the Zoomer age. I mean, Zoomers have done the most thing this decade than they will ever do because we are not powerful enough. I mean, this year we somehow managed to get some meatball to count to a big number. We got the Lorax, but it's still, this decade was still the decade for Geometry Dash and other games that you play on your iPod. So I went back and watched heaps of movies from this decade because I actually was really interested to do a bit of a movie review on them. I know Pyro does movie reviews. Can we just give it a break? I enjoy them. And after watching heaps, I ended up falling into the realm of Disney without actually getting Disney Plus. I'm a DVD kid because I'm not a stinky Netflix user. And I ended up looking at Frozen 1 and Wreck-It Ralph 2, which are, one's a really good movie, the others I will use as kindling. I was very excited to make this video until late last month when the law known as COPPA decided to pull a leap of faith onto my ass and wreck the idea. How am I meant to talk about two Disney movies when I'm not allowed to be like a kid? So through this video, I'm just gonna try and make sure I keep this as adult as possible, okay? Can you do that for me? Thank you. So if I see any 9-year-olds in my comment section today, I will be reporting you, and I will get your ass clenched by COPPA. First off, let's just read through the dot points of what I'm not allowed to be. Okay, so subject matter of the video cannot be educational content for preschoolers. So it's the only way I can really do this. Hey Elsa. Cool. That's how you make babies. Okay. Whether children are your intended or actual audience. Well, I don't think so. Whether the video includes child actors or models. I'm not a child, right? How old is a kid? The age of a kid in the United States is anyone under 13. In the United States, apparently. Let's just say that. Let's just say I'm an American. Yeah, Donald Trump. Whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that may appeal to children, including animated cartoon characters or cartoon figures. And I am talking about an animated movie. 2 of them. Please help me. Whether the language of your video is intended for children to understand. Existentialism. Whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs, games, or early education. Kids, the question for you today is, are you a fan of suicide? Okay, cool. Let's keep that in mind and not get our ass clapped. Okay, let's get into Frozen, because I say this completely unironically. Frozen is a masterpiece. I would literally take down The Last Supper and just get a zoomed in photo of Anna's face and put it there, and it would probably be 10 times better. And I'll give you some reasons why Frozen is actually a masterpiece. And it's not just the fact that it breaks the rules of a lot of Disney movies, but the fact that it is so clever in the way they've presented each character. First off, I'm going to talk about Jack's films, because somehow they managed to get PewDiePie, Jack's films, and voiceover Pete in this movie. So proud of this community. First off, Jack's films in this movie, or Prince Hans as they call him, is just such a well done character. One thing about thriller movies is the fact that you never know what's going to happen next, and you're never going to be able to actually stop that from happening. That's the brilliance of horror and thriller movies. Frozen is presented as a kid's movie, but has that thriller aspect. Through the whole movie, Prince Hans is presented as the most genuine person, making you feel to him like he's someone you can trust and put your faith in. And at the very end, he turns into someone who's completely the opposite. I rewatched this movie, and I do not see a single time where Prince Hans shows anything that's not genuine. Like, he genuinely tries to save Elsa when the ice thing is crashing on her. He genuinely helps by giving rugs and blankets to people who are in need. He's genuinely a nice person. The only time you don't see him do something that is playing in this act is his shock when he finds out he met the princess after he game-ended her in a boat.
Prince Hans of the Southern Isles.
Princess Anna of Arendelle.
Princess? my lady.
And that's what's so amazing about this movie. Everyone thinks they have some level of control or understanding of the situation. And it's that understanding that drives the movie. Let's now talk about Elsa. You know what? Because this character is amazing. First off, we start the movie off as kids playing and doing what kids think. They think they can understand how things work until an accident happens. She gets terrified as a kid, and that fear ends up engulfing her life because she gets told how she'll never be able to control her powers and one day it'll turn on her. This is brilliant. As I said, everyone thinks they have some sort of understanding of the situation, and here we are. Elsa thinks she will lose all control at some point of her life, and that terrifies her. I think Elsa's character was so good that things like Let It Go kind of took a back seat purely on the fact that the way her character was built was a lot more powerful. But here's another example. Her ice in the whole movie replicates her emotion. When she's scared or when she feels unhappy of a situation, her ice is like in an attack mode, like it's ready to defend Elsa and getaway threats. That's the same way of the flight or fight response. This is clearly the fight response. When she's scared, she's ready to attack the threat. When she's finally feeling free, her ice is in a creative mode. Have you noticed when she feels free, it forms patterns, unlike attack mode where everything is really sharp and deadly. Finally, when she has control of her powers, everything is smooth. Everything's well done. So let's just go back again. So say the scene where she is in her castle about to be attacked, everything's going red, and the ice is pointing deadly at her in this sharp formation that looks like a Transformer's spine. Then when she's creating the castle in the song Let It Go, the ice becomes shaped, it becomes moldable to how she feels. It takes on the snowflake shapes, but it's not sharp or pointy. It's actually, in fact, kind of nice and satisfying to watch. Now, let's talk about Anna, who is a ranger. Cool, let's talk about... No, I'm joking. No, Anna in this movie is one of those people who you kind of need to drive the film, because she in this movie is the one who's pushing the story, which I love. Like, I don't know how this ranger could put up such a fight, but oh my goodness, she has some serious willpower. And I'm kind of gonna ignore the fact that PewDiePie and his reindeer Sven somehow managed to be the worst friend zone of the century. I'm gonna ignore some characters like Olaf because they are purely for two things: keep the kids entertained and marketing, when that's the exact opposite of what COPPA wants to hear from me. Kids and marketing to kids. All round, Frozen's just a really well-designed movie, and props to the team for making it. I mean, there are some things that don't really line up, and they did trigger me a slight bit. How when Anna finds out Elsa has powers, she just goes, oh, okay, let's chase her, with no care whatsoever of how crazy that sounds. But in the main, it's a really good movie, and I genuinely enjoyed it, and I want to see number 2. I haven't yet, and I really want to. So now that I've talked about Frozen, I want to talk about Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, and how awful it is. Let's just say, if you've seen the first movie, Wreck-It Ralph, then you've seen the second one. It's the same movie. They are literally the same. The plot is basically the same as every Disney movie, and it's so basic and just poorly done. Let's just, okay, ready? Protagonist wants a new life because they don't feel like they fit in their old life. Hey, does that sound like the Emoji Movie? Sure does. Does that sound like every Disney movie ever? Sure does. Protagonist tries looking for their old life and finds a new place for them to be and almost feels comfortable when suddenly their new life comes crashing down in front of them. And then by the end they find out they don't have to change, they just have to find some way to fix that world, and boom, there we go, there's the end. Fun fact, that's the Emoji Movie all over again. That's Wreck-It Ralph 1 all over again. It's just all the Pixar films are the same. Now, there are times where they take the piss on that type of thing. Like, there's a scene where Penelope sings all about how she wishes she could be in the Slaughter Race game, taking the piss out of all those other movies where they sing about that, but no, Pixar, no, you cannot do that. That's like having really bad CGI and then saying, oh, he really looked like a bad video game character. It's just such a cop-out. Like, you cannot do that. The one thing that triggers me about Wreck-It Ralph is the way the characters are presented. I told you a lot about the characters from Frozen because I want you to see in detail how they were. So let me just tell you about Wreck-It Ralph. He's a sociopath. Through the whole movie, all he cares about is himself with no risk, who cares nothing about the consequences of his actions, and only does things for himself, when suddenly he just turns around in the very end and just becomes the good guy. The character arc isn't even an arc. It's not like the character goes from here and all the way to there. Instead, he just goes straight and then boom. There's no reason for him to change, but he does because that's the story. Penelope is just also bland as well. Like, she, in the start of the movie, says how she wants a new game, and then suddenly she has to leave her old game, finds a new game, and then for the rest of the movie wants to be in that new game. That's it. I need a chalky milk because I'm gonna stress out. And they are the main protagonists of this movie. I think the one character, I'm gonna give this justice here. There is one character who I absolutely love, and it is, who needs no introduction?
While the cat was away, these mice tried to play.
Hey, I think that might be Shank.
It's just, she has got to be the best character in this movie. She's the only one with any reasonable will. She's an absolute badass. Like, she's awesome. And she takes the spotlight. She seems like a character from Fast and Furious, and it works really well if it was in Fast and Furious, but because she's in Wreck-It Ralph, her character is smashed. Now, I know I'm explaining this movie like it's got no massive feature, like the fact that you're in the internet the entire movie, but the internet is just a massive Easter egg. It's hard to watch because it's like the developers spent about 2 hours just looking at some YouTubers and thought, okay, we know how the internet works now. Let's go. Like, there are lines where the CEO of YouTube, or BuzzTube, that just sounds like a recipe for basically, the CEO of Tubes decides to tell Ralph that you should never read the comments, and although I definitely agree with that, they are a war zone, I still hear the comments in my sleep. Like, the amount of choice to literally shoot myself in the head comes purely from my comment section. Although I totally agree with what she said, it's the only time she says anything relevant. Half the movie is based off the idea that Ralph posted one video, went viral, then everyone watches every single movie after it. It doesn't happen. Someone posts one video that goes viral, their channel dies within a week because it was luck. It's very disjointed and unrealistic. Where people in Frozen had slow development and as I said, their understanding of the movie and plot changed with it, and it was driven by certain characters. It's just disjointed in this. And the amount of Easter eggs they throw in, like the fact that I Am Groot Boy is in there, or the fact there's a lot of KKK members running around, or the fact that you have 20 princesses in the room who have no parents. Sure, that's fun, but you can't rely on that to just fix all your plot holes. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I wrote a book, and the book was titled The Best Book Ever. Even though the book is absolute shit, you can't rely on the title to say, but the title says it's the best book, so let's just say it's the best book. It's like they tried to do the Emoji Movie again and then somehow got surprised it failed. The sad thing is, there was a lot of potential for this movie. This movie could have done heaps of great things. Like, there could have been some funny ass jokes about things like kids stealing their mum's credit card when they went to eBay or things like that. There could have been really clever things that they could have done, but it just felt like a massive cop-out. Like, even the ending is just boring. The idea of Rounds becoming a virus and then taking over the whole entire internet, that's not possible, but okay. Ralph's taking over the entire internet and then disappearing because they said, just let Vanellope be a normal person. Hey bro, can you stop being a sociopath? Thank you yeah, cool, thanks. That's awesome. Another thing about this video is There are some amazingly funny Easter eggs in it that I noticed, and it cracked me up. The first time that Ralph goes into the internet, he sees heaps of pop-ups, and one of them has the scene from Big Hero 6 where the mother is doing this pose, and you can see her bazongas being thrusted up into the air. And it went viral because of how overly sexualized that scene was. And they put that in their movie to like highlight how that existed. I loved that, but it was only on the scene for 10 frames. Like, unless you have eagle eye vision, you are not gonna see that Easter egg. And it was honestly sad that they just skipped it. They just chucked it in the back of the corner of the room, and they said, hey, it exists. Rely on this to make our movie good. There's no character development. There's no genuinity coming from any characters. All you see is the blandness. It's like a black and white painting where someone's throwing a tomato at it and they're calling the tomato some color. In the end, Ralph Breaks the Internet is just a massive cop-out. Compared to something like Frozen, which was a masterpiece and relied purely on the character development of people, it was beautiful. Even though there was the child elements like Olaf that made no sense, he even had great one-liners that adults would like. But in this, all the jokes are purely for kids. The message isn't good. The message is don't be a sociopath towards your friends. And the whole premise of the movie is purely for kids to just laugh at and be, oh, It almost saddens me to think that the studio couldn't work any harder on that movie. I would like to know their budget because, honestly, I don't know how they managed to do it like that. In the end, I unironically say Frozen was amazing, and I genuinely recommend going and watching it if you haven't in a while. I want to do more videos like this where I review things, but I know I'll just get called a pyrocynical clone because he reviews movies and he's a human and I'm a human and we're both male, meaning we're the same person. Cool. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one.